Hey guys, welcome back. Now, some time back I reviewed the Marshall Monitor II ANC and yep, I loved it. But of course, that's not the only thing they make other than amplifiers. Now, this is the Marshall Uxbridge. Now, this is actually a smart speaker, okay? Now, one thing when we talked about the Marshall ANC headphones was that it was really good. I loved everything about it except the price when I thought it was a little bit too expensive. So, does this suffer from the same faults? Let's find out. So as you can see from here, you know what I'm going to talk about, the design aesthetic. Now same, like if you're not familiar with Marshall, Marshall is a brand that started out making guitar amplifiers and a whole range of other things in the professional audio industry. Now they've come out and they've also made headphones, all sorts of consumer end products. And this is no different. So once again, this is the Marshall Uxbridge. Now looking at it, anybody who's seen a Marshall amplifier knows immediately that this looks a lot like it, all right? But yeah, it's not an amplifier. It is a Bluetooth speaker, but also has Google Assistant integrated. Now it doesn't support Amazon Alexa or Apple Siri. However, it does support Apple AirPlay too. So that's one good thing for you guys out there that use Apple AirPlay too. And of course, it's got Chromecast built in as well. And one really cool thing about this is that you can sort of build like an ecosystem. If you have multiple Marshall these Uxbridge speakers, you can actually build them or put them around the house, and you can not really get them to work seamlessly, but with your Google Home or Spotify, you can play your music and adjust it accordingly. All right. And also, like all smart speakers, you have a mute button, which is really important when you don't want Google to be activated or you just don't want to be heard. Press the button, it'll mute the speaker. And then the Google won't hear any commands that you give. Now, other than the mute button, you also have a play and pause button, and at the back, you can actually use it as a Bluetooth speaker. So you have a Bluetooth pairing button here. Now, don't be confused. This is not a portable speaker in the sense that it doesn't have an internal battery. However, it's so small that, if you're going to bring it somewhere that you know is going to have a power source, why not? It's perfectly small. Not too heavy, at just about 3 pounds. So yeah, I'm holding it in one hand, really no issue at all. But all in all, in terms of design, I would say good job, Marshall. You stuck to your design aesthetic without making it too corny or too cheesy. I would say just about right. Although there are some things that I think I would have liked to see in terms of the design, but we're going to talk about that later on in this review. Okay, so you just heard the comparison between the Google Home and the Marshall Uxbridge according to 3 different genres, alright? Now, I'll let you draw your own conclusions, but for me, I thought there was really no contest at all, okay? The Marshall is a whole different league in terms of audio quality. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. One thing that really bugs me about a lot of speaker manufacturers who build speakers of that similar size is what they do is that they tend to sort of do a dip at the mid frequency. So that means they cut like 1 to 2 kilohertz and then they will boost the lows to give it more like a bassy feel, which sort of give the perceptions to most people that the speakers sound good. Now the problem with that is that you lose your mid frequencies and you lose a lot of clarity, in my opinion. Now Marshall has not done the same thing, and kudos to Marshall for doing that. Now, with the Marshall Monitor II ANCs that I reviewed some time back, and I'll put a link to that in the description below if you want to check that out. Now, even with that, I thought the frequency response of the headphones was relatively flat. So when you got like electric guitars, you know, and yeah, Marshall electric guitars, but yeah, within the 2 to 4 kilohertz, you don't see that same dip. It's a lot better, and it is the exact same thing here with the Marshall Uxbridge. It sounds a lot more natural, okay? And honestly, even like with the Sonos One, now the Sonos One is also a fantastic smart speaker, and I will also put a link to my review of that down below. Now that one, yeah, really good. The Sonos One has a really good ecosystem as well. You know, it's got the whole like the Sonos Arc and other speakers that you can sort of build this whole ecosystem around your entire house. But for me, and this is more of a personal preference, it's not so much in terms of the technical ability of the speakers or anything like that, but I actually prefer the sound of this, even though, yeah, it might not have the same body. Because of the size, you don't get that same kind of bass that you could get from the Sonos One, or maybe a bigger smart speaker. But to me, at this size right now, I would say the Marshall Uxbridge, in terms of smart speaker at that size, #1. So like every other review, I'm gonna talk about things that I don't quite like about this speaker. Well, I wouldn't say don't like. Now, these are sort of personal preferences. One is, now if you see here, like I mentioned, the volume rocker, which is cool and it works really well. Design aesthetic wise, on a neutral perspective, I would say it's quite nice. However, it follows the design aesthetic of a Marshall amplifier. Now, if anyone's seen or used the Marshall amplifier, you know the one thing that you need are knobs or dials to adjust your volume and your EQ and your gain and all that. Now, instead of having the rocker, I feel like they should have like the same kind of dials that you get on an amplifier, like this, something like this, where you can adjust, or maybe even like make it like a top cabinet and small dials here. I thought that would have been really nice. Now, to be fair, that would have probably made it a little bit more expensive, but I think it's a missed opportunity to make it look even more like an amplifier. Now, the other thing, which is not talking about the speaker being bad, but I feel like a massive missed opportunity on the speaker. Now, it looks like a guitar amplifier or a mini guitar amplifier. So why didn't they put a 1/4" input for your electric guitar or keyboard or whatever? I mean, it's a perfect little speaker that could be used as an actual amplifier. It looks like one anyway. If you just had a 1/4" adapter here or somewhere, but I could plug in my guitar, you know, I could just have it here, I could just play my guitar, and it doesn't need to be really loud, but at least I've got something portable and something small to use. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't think it would have cost that much more to do that, but yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity. But yeah, honestly, these are my only 2 complaints, alright? Or my only 2 complaints so far. We still gotta talk about the price, alright? Now, the price. Okay, so this one, the Marshall Uxbridge in Singapore, comes in at about 399 Singapore dollars, basically $400. So yeah, again, it's kind of suffering from the same thing where it's really good, I really love it, I would buy it immediately. The only problem is it is quite expensive. So 400 Singapore dollars. Now, to put that into perspective, the actual Google Home, well, I mean, it was a lot more expensive when it first released, and it's been more than a year now. But now you can get it for about 100 Singapore dollars, okay? Depending on where you buy it. So you're talking about a speaker that is 4 times more expensive, okay? The question is it 4 times better? Now, this is the part where you just say, no, I don't think so, but actually, yeah, I kind of think it is. Now, I'm surprised at this myself. Now, to me, and like I said, it might be a bit subjective, you might not agree with me, but in terms of audio quality, smart speaker, this one #1. Alright, some of you might like the Sonos One as well, and I also think that's really good. And in terms of price point, it's not that different. I think the Sonos One goes in about $329, $330, and this one is about $400, so it's very close. But for me, if you compare everything, you compare the design aesthetic, if you consider the audio quality, I actually would go for this, even though the Sonos One can basically be combined into like a major home theater system. I really like this. So if I were to give this a rating, alright, now I thought long and hard about this, okay, but I'm actually going to give it a 4 out of 5, okay. Now, Honestly, in terms of it working as a smart speaker, I have absolutely no complaints. I love it. There's no drawbacks for this other than maybe being a bit expensive. But the reason why I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5, again, and it's a personal thing, I wish they had the input to plug in a guitar or something. Well, it does have a Bluetooth pairing, but for electric guitar, you would want that sort of quarter-inch input and maybe missing the dials. But like I said, in terms of working as a speaker, it works perfectly fine. These are just things that I wish were on the speaker, and if either one of those would have been added, I would have given it a full 5 out of 5. And even though it's 4 out of 5, I am still giving it a Technobabble recommended logo. Alright, so that about wraps up my review of the Marshall Uxbridge. Now, if you like this video, you know what to do, and I would love it if you would subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications on our next video. I'm JP, and I'll see you real soon.